Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. And this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am delighted to welcome Kenneth Jarvis. Ken is a confirmed global traveler. He's visited 6 continents, a confirmed frequent flyer, 1.5 million miles on American Airlines and its One World partners, a frequent floater, 118 cruises, all in suites, Pinnacle with Royal Caribbean, Zenith with Celebrity, and business traveler, a senior director in global networks and technology for a major telecom company. Ken is also a retired social media influencer. He has numerous cruise reviews on Cruise Critic. He's a former co-leader of RC Periscopers, which was a Facebook group for people who use the live streaming app Periscope to broadcast live from cruise ships and would host an annual Super Bowl group cruise. Ken still hosts the YouTube channel, Kenneth Jarvis Sweet Life. We have been social media friends for a couple of years, and I've always found Ken's posts to be interesting and even intriguing. For instance, his infamous post of the day, whereby he highlights naive, asinine, or outrageous cruise line posts made by prospective travelers, or references to Ken's amazing summer, which I now know relates to major spring and summer vacations Ken goes on. And he is from, or at least works in, my original hometown of New York City. So I'm delighted to now get to ask Ken about his travels directly, and I'm so glad he agreed to come on the Joy of Cruising podcast. Welcome, Ken, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, finally to connect with you. How's it going?
I'm going crazy because, I'm in the process of relocating, and smack dab in the middle of that process, I leave Saturday for 3 weeks of cruising. So
that's fantastic.
So it's an inconvenient time, but it's going to feel great getting on that ship.
You definitely need it. Once you're relocating, you definitely need something good happening because packing those boxes is never fun.
Yep. So it's great to meet you virtually. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm doing really well.
All right. So before we talk about your amazing travel and specifically cruising life, provide us some personal insight. Where you're from, where you live now, background, anything you are willing to share with the cruising community.
Absolutely. Well, I am Ken Jarvis. For work, I am Senior Director in Global Network and Technology for a major telecom company. That role has allowed me to travel the world. And when I travel the world, I always tack on a cruise. I live in Queens, New York, born and raised.
Born and raised. Okay.
Born and raised.
So we're homies. I'm from Brooklyn. Well, originally from Brooklyn.
That's it. Right down the block.
Although when I did my formative years, as the Wonder Bread commercial used to say, on Long Island.
Okay. I'm right in Queens Village, right on the border of Nassau. So I feel you with Brooklyn and with Nassau, right in the middle there.
So now, where did you say? So you were raised in Brooklyn and you work in probably Manhattan?
In Basking Ridge, New Jersey is where headquarters is.
Okay. So let's talk about cruising. Jump right into it. I know it's something interesting. So, what's the latest cruise you have done? Or put it this way, what are some of the most recent cruises you have done, like in the last year?
Okay, so I always do a really big spring vacation and a big summer vacation. So I also, although, me, I am a cruiser. I've cruised 118 times, love cruising. There are also some land places that I want to go. So what I'm doing these days, tack on a land vacation and a cruise, and I call it, to have some amazing time traveling. So this spring, I went to Rio, did
Oh, wow.
did a week in Rio. I'm also doing all of the world wonders. So I was able to check the box and take out Christ the Redeemer. And then I flew directly to Rome and I jumped on Odyssey of the Sea out of Rome. Now, the good thing about that trip, you talk about timing. I got there, I boarded Odyssey the same day as the Pope's installation.
Oh, wow.
So that morning, I went and saw the Pope get installed, and then I went out to Civitavecchia and hopped on Odyssey. So that was just an amazing trip, seeing Rio and then jumping on Odyssey to do a med cruise, which, anytime you get to Santorini and Mykonos, it's always a great time.
Well, I tell you, I mentioned in the intro, you've done 6 continents.
Hmm.
You just said you're on a mission to go to the world's wonders.
Yes.
I can't wait when I get later on, when I get to a question about what's on your bucket list, because what could possibly be on the bucket list of someone who's done 118 cruises, been to 6 continents? Well, that's a hint of what's on your bucket list. If you've only been to if you've been
That's
to
right.
6 out of 7,
Right.
and then the world's, well, I can't wait to hear that, but we'll get to that.
But wait a second. Your first question, you asked me what other trips. So let me tell you about my
Sure,
summer
sure.
travels that I did.
Yeah,
Okay.
your summer travel. One of the things that following you on or being a friend on Facebook that kind of used to kind of confuse me. I think I now understand it, but you
Hmm.
would have comments about Ken's amazing summer. And
Yes.
so I would always wonder, like, what the heck is Ken's amazing summer? So tell us about it.
So again, now the amazing summer. In the old days, I would do 3 or 4 cruises, but not back to back, separate cruises. So maybe I would do a med cruise, come home, jump on a Caribbean cruise, and then maybe even do another med cruise, all in 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
And all of my friends would be like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. So I labeled it KJ's Amazing Spring and Summer. So
Hmm.
now, let me tell you about KJ's Amazing Summer 2025 that just took place. I told you I want to see world wonders, right? So I flew to Peru and went to Machu Picchu, spent some time down in Machu Picchu, and then flew right back into New York to Bayonne and hopped on Symphony of the Seas for a week. So 1 week in Peru, 1 week on a cruise. So I've married land vacations and cruises together now. Oh, 2 weeks, amazing sights, multiple destinations, and I'm just having such a great time.
Well, I'll tell you, as busy as you are with your work career and then with your traveling career, let me know if you are in the market for an administrative assistant.
As long as you don't charge too much, you can come along with me.
Let's go way back.
Mhm.
We have some aspiring cruisers listening. So I
Mhm.
always, people who haven't cruised but they want to cruise. So I always like to ask guests to recollect their first cruise. When,
Oh,
what ship,
oh
initial
yes.
impressions of cruising. So what's the first ship for you?
So you know what? Here's the story with that, because my mother, who was a traveler,
Hmm.
she would travel all over. So I got to see people traveling as a young kid.
Okay.
And then one day she said, how come you've never been on a cruise? And I was like, you know what, Mom? I never even thought about cruising. You know what? I'm going to go out on a cruise. So I did all the research and I found out that there was this new ship coming out called Voyager of the Seas. This was July of 2001. And I will never forget this. I'm going to really date myself now because at that time, Royal Caribbean didn't have the names. They had letter categories. So I had a category C room, which is now a junior suite, and I'll never forget it. 1624 cabin number on the hump.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking into the cabin, and they used to use this tropical air freshener. So you open up the door and the room just smelled like a vacation. And the room was, all you heard about in cruising was how the rooms were so small. But this room had a walk-in closet. It had a bathtub. It had so much room and a big, big balcony. And that balcony was on the hump. So I could go out and I could see the whole rest of the ship. And I was like, this is just a fantastic hotel room. And then Sail Away came. We started moving, and in Miami, I think it's federal cut or government cut, one of the cuts, people were lined up to see the ship leave. And there was no sound of the ship. It's not like a plane when you start moving and it revs up. It was so quiet. And there must have been 100,000 people out there looking at us, waving. I was hooked. One other thing I remember about that experience, on the side of Voyager, it said, like no vacation on Earth. And they were definitely right. It was like no vacation. Just a great, great time. I remember pulling into the old lobby. That was our first port of call. No pier in those days. So you had to tender. And when you got on the tender and you saw how magnificent that ship was, I said, oh no, I've got to do this. I've got to do this again. So just had an outstanding time. The service back then, and still now, but back then, the service, I'll never forget. I like to drink sweetened iced tea. And all they had was the unsweetened. So the first night I'm there and I'm ripping open 5 things of sugar to put in the iced tea. Well, the next night at dinner, I got there was a bottle of simple syrup there for me. So I didn't have to rip the sugar. I thought that was the most amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the algorithm, I don't know what algorithm they used to put people at the table, but the initial thought about sitting at a table with strangers was something that I was a little leery about. It's like, oh, I don't know them. I don't want to eat my meals with them. Those people were just like me. They were from all over the world, but they were interested in travel. They were so much fun. Like, I still have friends from that first cruise I took on Voyager of the Seas.
Wow.
It was truly like no vacation on Earth.
So the stage was set. You were hooked immediately.
I was hooked. I remember that first day getting back, and now I'm depressed because I got to go back to work. And I looked and I found out that they had another ship like that coming out called the Adventure of the Seas. So I quickly booked that one. Now that one, for me, because what I didn't tell you, my father is West Indian, and my mother and father at that time had a house on the island of Nevis, which is sister island to the island of St. Kitts, where Star of the Sea was today. The first time Star was there, so the prime minister actually came to see the ship to welcome thing, but that's a different story. So I could go visit my parents and then fly to Puerto Rico, which was a 30-minute flight, and then hop on Adventure of the Seas. That was just the perfect vacation. So I did a couple of adventures back to back, and then life took over. So I didn't cruise again till 2009. And as I call the reawakening for me, Liberty of the Seas. I did a family cruise with all of my family on that. And then at that point, I said, you know what? I need to do multiple cruises of the year. This is what I love doing. So from 2009, I started to do 4 cruises a year.
Well, with 118 cruises, I suspect you have gone, not I suspect, I know, I know you have gone on some amazing ones. Sometimes when I host prolific cruises like yourself, and I ask for their favorites, they react like I asked, "Who's your favorite child? Which is your favorite
Right.
child?" Uh, but in your case, you actually volunteered your five favorite cruise. You didn't say favorite. You said your five best cruises. So
Yes.
let's take them in turn. Uh,
Okay.
you had number one, uh, Royal Caribbean Oasis Transatlantic in 2014. Why is that on the list?
So that was going to be the first time there was a passenger cruise for an Oasis class ship. Oasis was going in for its dry dock in Rotterdam because there were no dry docks in the US that they could do the 5-year checks on. And the thing about that, do you remember when we had cruise critic groups
Yes,
for all roll calls for your
yes,
sailing?
yes.
Well, this was the first time that the roll call was so full, we had to start a second roll call
Hmm.
because it was a year before the sailing, and we made so many friends from that roll call that when we finally got to Rotterdam, it was like it was old home week. It was like you were meeting your long lost friends. And at that point in time, people had never seen a ship that big. So sailing away from Rotterdam, I'll never forget this because it was a rainy, rainy day, but there were 500,000 people on the shores of the river there to see the ship leave.
Get out.
And because we were in a river, we had to back down the river for 3 or 4 miles until we could get to the turning basin to turn around to then go out of the port. So just think about this visual. 500,000 people on either side of the waterway, and Oasis of the Seas, freshly painted, freshly renovated, backing down. It was just spectacular. It was spectacular. And the first time we got 14 days on an Oasis class ship. So that was just absolutely fantastic. But I made lifelong friends on that sailing. I mean, I'm still friends with most of the group. And when I say cruise friends, I mean cruise friends that we interact with at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Wow.
So it's not just I see you today, but we're Facebook friends, we're sharing laughs, DMing, talking. So it was really a sense of community on that sailing. And it was just a spectacular, spectacular sailing. So that was one of my top
Was
ones.
that your first transatlantic?
It was my first transatlantic. So I mean, even that holds a special place in your heart too. And to do it on an Oasis class ship when it had never done it before, absolutely spectacular.
Okay. The second one you listed uh, was Hurricane Cruise 2019. So first question that comes to mind is
Yeah.
what ship line and what ship was that?
Royal Caribbean Navigator of the Seas. It was my good friend Michael Poole's bachelor party.
Hmm.
Now, the night before, this was only going to be a 3-day cruise,
Okay.
but there was a hurricane coming, and Florida was on alert. So we said, hey, we're going on the cruise no matter what.
No matter what.
Royal offered the Florida people a refund because they knew that bad weather was coming. Guess what? We get on the ship. There's only 1,200 people on Navigator of the Seas. We had an absolutely fantastic time for the first 3 days. And then I did tell you it was a 3-day cruise, right? You wake up day 3 expecting to be alongside in Miami, and all you can see is ocean.
Water.
And the captain says, because of the hurricane, they've closed the port and we need to move the ship out of the hurricane area. He was like, I don't know where we're going, but I can tell you we're not going to Miami. We're extending the dining packages and the drink packages for free.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
The next day, we woke up in Costa Maya. The day after that, we woke up in Cozumel. So that 3-day actually turned into a 6-day. And just imagine only 1,200 people on that kind of ship. It was just absolutely amazing.
So 1,200 people, what was that, 50%
Yeah,
capacity?
less, right? That ship
Less.
holds,
Oh,
what,
okay.
3,200, 3,600?
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
absolutely
So
fantastic.
that was almost like, the ratio of crew to passenger. That
That's
was
right.
almost like traveling on a luxury ship.
And you know what? It's so funny that you said crew, because the crew on that sailing, I mean, the crew's always wonderful. They were even better with fewer people to have to remember. And I made so many cruise friends. Just this year, getting on Odyssey this summer, I walked on and one of the people in Playmaker said, "Weren't you on the Hurricane Cruise?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I was." So it was that meaningful to both crew and people. It's just such a great time. Such a great time.
We'll be right back.
Do you have a dream car? Mine is the Lucid Air. Are you intrigued by electric vehicles? The Lucid Air EV has been called the best driving car in the world. And the Lucid Air Sapphire is certifiably the fastest production car in the world. Listen to Lucid Driver Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or at luciddriver.buzzsprout.com. Well, easy to see why that was number 2. Although when I first saw Hurricane Cruise, I'm thinking, how can that be positive?
I should have put avoid the Hurricane Cruise.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, that sounds like it was maybe a double milestone cruise. Well, it was at least a milestone cruise. 50th birthday Pinnacle cruise.
That was
so
just
the milestone's 50th birthday.
Yeah.
Was that when you reached Pinnacle?
Yes,
was
sir.
anything special? Okay, there
Yes,
you go.
sir.
So that's your double milestone.
Oasis of the Seas. My birthday's in December. And it just so happened that I was going to be turning Pinnacle, and it was my 50th birthday. So I had about 65 people on board celebrating with me. I upgraded to Star Class. So my genie hooked up a free party for me where we had food. Imagine 60 people in a cabin with a ton of food, all celebrating not only my 50th birthday, but also turning Pinnacle. It was absolutely spectacular.
Now, for the listeners who are not familiar with Royal Caribbean, tell them what you mean by Genie.
So that is their top level of status for their Crown and Anchor loyalty program. So turning Pinnacle is when you have 700 cruise points, and Star Class is the Royal Suite program, where you basically have, it's not a butler, it's a personal assistant. This person will help you do anything on the cruise, from meeting you outside, taking your luggage directly to the room, booking all your shows, bringing you specialty restaurant food, taking you around the ship, getting elevators for you with their special card that zooms you around the ship, not having to wait. And they're just wonderful. They are, they'll do anything you need. It's more than a concierge, more than a butler. They're an enabler of your vacation great time. So it's absolutely wonderful. So to have that, to turn Pinnacle, and all my friends and family there with me, spectacular.
Okay, number 4, Adventure of the Seas Restart 2023. Now, that's a pretty modest ship to make your top 5 out of 118 cruises. What gives?
Post-pandemic, if you recall, during COVID, they stopped cruising. So for years, we were unable to take a cruise. And then because the CDC still did not have the guidelines for US cruising, Royal Caribbean restarted from Nassau on utilizing the Adventure of the Seas. So we were on that first sailing when cruising restarted out of Nassau. And if you recall, you had to go to the
Okay.
British Colonial Hotel before getting on the ship and get a live COVID test. And if you were positive, they didn't allow you to board the ship. So we all went into the British Colonial in Nassau Hotel and prayed as they were swiping our noses and doing the test before they put you on a bus and drove you out to the pier and got on. So just the fact that we were able to cruise again. And again, it was a horrible itinerary, right? It was Nassau, Freeport, a couple days at sea. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. We were back cruising again. It was only
Back where you belong.
exactly. I think it was only like 1,500 people allowed in the first cruising. So again, it was small, it was intimate. The crew, we all had to wear masks, but the crew had buttons on with their smiling faces so we could see what they really looked. And you got to remember, they weren't getting paid a lot during the pandemic. So they were so happy and grateful we had come back. Just seeing friends again that, you've cruised with before. It was just such a memorable event that it's got to be on the list of the top cruising.
Mm-hmm. And then number 5 was Celebrity Apex. Now, I love the Celebrity Edge class.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this one make your top 5?
So this one is very, very interesting because during the pandemic, the Celebrity Apex was delivered to Royal Caribbean, but there was no cruising around. So it just sat there. So Celebrity decided they were going to restart also, but they were going to restart out of Athens. So this was the restart for Celebrity. It was also Apex first cruise. So imagine, and at that time nobody was traveling, so airfare to Athens was dirt cheap. It was cheaper than booking a flight to Buffalo, New York, right? Went there to Athens, 600 people on the ship. The ship was empty, so we had a brand new ship all to ourselves. Had such a great time. We went back home. We booked 3 more sailings. So that Celebrity Apex, that's actually 3 cruises. We went back every 3 weeks and cruised on it again because it was so cheap. Now, the last sailing, they were almost at capacity. So it wasn't the same as only having 600 people on, but it was still just a brand new ship. It was just fantastic. And cruising in Europe, it was just amazing. So that last one is 3 Apex sailings, 3 weeks in a row because it was so spectacular.
Given your top 5 cruises, I almost wish you were on earlier today. You were on before my previous. I recorded a podcast earlier today.
Okay.
And believe it or not, it was what Richard Fain, chairman of the board of Royal Caribbean.
Visionary.
So I would have spent at least a few minutes talking about you.
Oh, wow. That is just amazing that you were able to get him on the podcast. What a visionary. What a visionary and a great, great leader. That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing that one.
And he actually mentioned a couple of these. One that he mentioned, and I didn't I didn't get it when I first saw your choices, but the Adventure of the Seas restart. He talked a little bit about that. Yeah. So, yep.
Oh, that's great. It was a great cruise.
Say
Great
something
cruise.
about probably the first thing that I noticed. That kind of brought you to my attention. I call it your trademark. I don't know if you take ownership of it or not, but you occasionally do these posts called Posts of the Day. And it's always fun and interesting. How did that come about? And do you still do that?
So my cruise friends, and I have a huge, huge community of cruise friends, we always like to laugh, right? Because we're fun people. So all day we were sending text messages on, did you see what this person just said? Did you see this question? And I finally said, you know what? Instead of getting something funny and sending it individually to 100 people, let me just post it on my Facebook page and on Threads. And let me tell you, that has just really, really taken off. I've done it for 2 years. And then I said, you know what? Maybe it's a little stale now because they do have some Facebook groups that are doing it. I think some of those are mean-spirited, though, and mine was I never attempted to be mean-spirited. I just did it for fun. So I've cut down from the daily posts to just things that I see that are really, really strange and interesting. So I'll post those on my Facebook page and on Threads. But it's always a lot of fun. People have a lot of questions and it's all done in fun. I have had some people yell at me because they thought I was making fun of them. I'm like, all I'm doing is posting what people posted. Like, I'm not editorializing it in any way. I'm just posting it. So it's really just all in fun.
Now, talk about, do you still have, because at one time you were like content creator, influencer. I get the terms kind of, they kind of go together. Do you still have your YouTube channel?
So I do. I still have my YouTube channel, and really, I use my YouTube channel as a reference. So, I've cruised primarily in suites, and I've always done cabin tours of the room. And all of my friends were like, "We would love to see the room." So I said, "Oh, let me start a YouTube channel where I can put the room tour on it." Funny thing is that when I was on Odyssey, I walked into Next Cruise to book another cruise. And one of the agents at Next Cruise said, I just showed somebody your cabin because they want to book the cabin. So really, it's just as a reference point. Now, back in the days when we had RC Periscopers, I was very, very active then. And RC Periscopers, it was all built around an app called Periscope. And it was one of the...
I remember it well, although the way I used it was my way to, I'm a boxing fan. It was my way to see
That's
fights
right.
that I normally would have to
That's
pay
right.
per view. I would watch them via telescope, and people would just,
That's
give them
right.
the
That's
television.
right. So we utilize that for cruising. One of the co-founder and myself, what we would do, we had a Facebook group where we would encourage people to go on cruises and broadcast from those cruises. So in our heyday, we had about 4,000 people who were multi-year cruisers. So they were actively out there. We had a couple of people who went every week who would broadcast from the ship so that we could be at our desk at work and we get a notification that somebody is live and you would jump on and you'd get 5 or 10 minutes of experiencing what they're experiencing. And it was wonderful. And then the pandemic hit. So cruising stopped. So we didn't have content. And then the app was so popular, Twitter bought them and integrated that live function into Twitter Live. So it really...
Oh, okay. I did not
Yes.
know that. I was sad when Periscope kind of
Yes.
disappeared, but I didn't know why
Yes,
it
it disappeared because that functionality was integrated into Twitter Live and it was never the same. So we stopped doing it there, but we still have that community of 4,000 that are still friends, that still cruise together and are still in touch with each other. So those are really, really good days. But, the time has passed. Once the technology changed, the time has passed.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. What cruises do you have coming up?
So the next one coming up right after Thanksgiving for my birthday is Celebrity XL. So I believe that's the third sailing of the latest Edge class ship. So it's
is that has that launched yet?
it has not. It's just finishing up speed trials. And I believe it'll start making its way over because it's probably going to be doing its transatlantic because it's being built in France. And it's probably any day now it'll set sail for the U.S. So nothing like that new ship smell when you get onto a new ship. So I have that coming on. I'm also just a little tease without revealing, but I only have 2 world wonders left. Petra in Jordan and the Great Wall of China. So next year's summer and spring KJ's Amazing Summer will probably be somewhere near the Great Wall of China
There you go.
and somewhere near Petra in Jordan. So that'll be the tease. I won't reveal. You got to stay tuned to see where KJ's Amazing Spring and Summer 2026 will be, but stay tuned.
What a future. What future cruises you have. Now, how about any major, this is probably in conjunction with some of your major
Yeah.
cruises, but any major land trips you can talk about?
Yeah, definitely Petra. Definitely Petra and definitely the Great Wall. And, if I go to that part of the world, I'm going to do some multiple stops. So I would expect you'd see me in Hong Kong, Beijing, Shanghai. I'd expect that. And, Petra is not too far from Rome. And I believe there'll be some legendary things happening out of Rome this summer. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
All right, all right. Now, this is a question I kind of alluded to at the top of this. For someone who has seemingly done it all, well, one thing is pretty obvious. I was going to say, what's left on your cruising or travel bucket list? Well, you kind of just hinted at it. Great Wall of China
Yep.
and Petra.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have not, I've been to Egypt, but I haven't been deep into Africa. So that's definitely on the bucket list. Antarctica is also on the bucket list. And, there's a lot of other places that you may not be as familiar with that just have spectacular things going on. So the world, as I always replace items on the bucket list. So if these are my top 10, when I get to number 6, I'm going to add 4 more. So there's a lot more places in the world that I definitely want to see.
Well, I'm going to put on my marketing hat only because you opened the door for me.
Mm-hmm.
But we are doing a trip in 27 to Egypt. Actually, it's
Oh,
Kenya and Egypt.
oh, wow.
So in Kenya, we're doing a couple of safaris. Then we do Egypt, and Egypt will include a 4-day Nile cruise.
That's
So
amazing.
just something to put on the back burner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just thought I'd say that.
Yes. I would definitely tag along.
Well, I know that you are very, very busy. Before we let you go, we usually ask our guests some light or fun cruise questions, and senior executives like yourself like to have fun too.
Absolutely.
So first question is, how do you spend your me time?
So I always say, if I'm not traveling, I'm planning traveling. So I am one of these anal OCD people that wants to know everything about a place I'm going. So right now I am heavily involved in doing research into China and the best places to see and do and mapping out directions. My travel itinerary gives me maps, gives me how much the Uber is, all of the exchange rates, where I want to be at this time.
So
So
you
I
you
spend a
you
lot of
really get
time
really pre-planned.
really detailed. I also include backup plans because it's time sensitive. If these flights don't work, I'm going to need other flights to get me to my cruise because my cruise is usually a day after I get back. So working on that takes time. I love traveling, right? So I am researching places to go. I'm looking at vlogs on YouTube to see where people are going, what are they experiencing? Because until you do the research, you just really don't know. You can't say you want to go to this place, but no city or place has only one thing. So if you want to go to Rio and you want to see Christ the Redeemer, you also need to go to Sugarloaf. You also need to go to Copacabana Beach. You also need to go there. So just doing all of that research, I find so much fun in doing that. I believe in always having something to look forward to. It keeps the daily grind going. So you have a bad day at work, but you know what? I'm only 29 days away from that next cruise, and that just keeps me going. So most of my free time is around travel. Also a big sports fan, but I live in New York and the New York teams aren't that great. Maybe the Knicks will be great this year, but the football teams aren't doing well. So, there's also that.
Yeah, I've noticed your sports posts. We fill this on, and I'm probably gonna get myself in trouble with some of my listeners, but
Uh-oh.
I think we feel the same way about the Cowboys.
Oh, there we go. Okay. You're a good man. You're a good man.
Next question.
Mhm.
What's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
Okay. So from a drink perspective, really mad at Royal Caribbean, my favorite cruise line, because they don't have the Island Oasis guava mix anymore. And I used to love guava daiquiris. That was vacation in a glass. So now I had to go to peach. So peach daiquiris with dark rum. That is my favorite cruise drink.
Sounds good.
From a food perspective, boy, I love that chicken sandwich and Playmakers with that onion ring tower.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can get me some carbonara from Giovanni's. Those are the go-to.
Okay. Next question. What's your most wonderful or memorable or funniest or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
Oh, that is such a hard one because they're all so memorable, and just seeing these amazing places. Oh, probably the most embarrassing was being in Santorini when it was 100,000 degrees and trying to find the cable car station. And I tripped and fell, and it was very public, and everybody laughed. But you know what? You have to be able to laugh at yourself. So I laughed too. And then we found the cable car station, was able to come back and get back on the ship. So, but 100 degrees, full of sweat, sweating everywhere, falling flat on my face.
Well, at least you can laugh about it. You didn't get hurt or
Yes.
anything.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Bruised my ego. That was it.
The last question, I call this an oddball question, and the reason I
Mhm.
call it oddball is because it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with travel. But let me preface it by saying, you have a large following, so welcome to the many Ken Jarvis fans and friends listening, and we hope your friends have enjoyed what they have heard at the Joy of Cruising podcast, and will come back for future episodes. Share one thing that my listeners and your fans and friends don't know about Ken.
Oh, wow. What's one thing? Wow, I'm pretty much an open book. Um, Probably I am in the last couple of years of working before I retire, and I plan on retiring on my family's land in the island of Nevis. So when I do that, anybody who goes to St. Kitts, your New Shore excursion is coming over to Nevis and hanging out with me. So that'll be it.
There you go. There you go. Ken, it has been great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast. Uh, we have quite a few guests who have been repeat guests,
Mhm.
and I'd like to add you to that group. So you have an open invitation. I'd like to talk to you again, maybe in a year, because I'm sure you'll have done so many interesting things in that year. Come back and talk to us.
I definitely will. Hey, I'll give you the update on KJ's amazing spring and summer 2026. So I'll see you next year at this time, my friend.
All righty. All the best to you and in your future endeavors. And as I like to say, we'll see you on the ocean.
Thank you.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.